Hey everybody, it's Matt with the DPI podcast, and today's podcast is going to be a special edition going over Peter's trip that he took over Christmas. So Peter, why don't you just kind of start out and tell us kind of how you let everybody know in your family that you guys are growing?
Oh yeah, that was a really fun part of this. So we decided to take the kids for Christmas, and the kids had no idea. So not a single clue. All the way up until Friday, we had a 7 o'clock flight. Oh, sorry, it wasn't even that early. It was like a 10 o'clock flight out of Indianapolis to go down to Orlando. And around 6 o'clock, we had inside of a gift underneath our Christmas tree, we had a shirt for my son and a shirt for my daughter, and then a Christmas Mickey shirt for my son, a Christmas Minnie shirt for my daughter, and a brand new Magic Band for my son, and a brand new Magic Band for my daughter. And their shirts said, my son said, "The mountains are calling," and my daughter said, "The princesses are calling," and they had the logos of them all. And so around 6 o'clock, we said, you know what, you guys have been really good this week. You've been you've done a really good job behaving, working hard at school, working hard at swimming and everything. Mommy and I decided that you can open a gift. So they open a gift, and they open all this up, and they see these 2 T-shirts and these Magic Bands, and they just kind of like start realizing that this is about Disney. And it took a little bit of, question and answering, basically. but ultimately they realized, oh, wait, we're going to go back to Disney? And then we said, yeah. And they said, when? And I said, actually, if you look at the top of the stairs, you'll see our suitcases, because I'd kind of articulated the suitcases to the top of the stairwell, and they were sitting there ready to come down because we left for the airport around 7, so that we were there in plenty of time before our flight, because we didn't know with the weekend before Christmas if what the flights would look like. So it was really, really exciting. My wife and I were really excited because we've tried to do surprises, but never all the way to the last minute. Like, this was siphoning clothes out of their laundry to put into the bags. It was entirely completely a surprise to them. They had absolutely no idea. So that was really, really fun.
Yeah, we'll have to post that video because your wife took a video of them opening. We'll have to move that over to the DPI page so everybody can see it. Yeah. So as far as planning, how far out did you plan that? Did you do it that 6 months out so you could get dining reservations, or was it more kind of spur of the moment even for you guys?
Yeah, we normally have our vacations kind of planned out, but we were pass holders in 2019, pretty much basically from January 1st to December 31st in 2019. So we had the beginning of the year trip, which is why we became pass holders, because we were then going back in spring break. We had a fall break trip booked as well, so just becoming pass holders made a whole lot of financial sense if we were already going to be going those 3 times. My wife and I ended up throwing on an anniversary trip. My son and I ended up going real quick over Saturday to Tuesday for a pass holder preview of Galaxy's Edge. But then that fall break trip, so as we were maybe about a month out from fall break, so that would have been, the trip would have been mid-October, so this would have been about mid-September. About mid-September, we decided that we were going to head back one more time really quick before the end of our passes, because our passes expired the 31st, as I said. So we were like, you know what, why don't we just take the kids for Christmas? So that would have put us about 3 months out, which is way late for us.
It's way late for that time of year as well. I mean, how were reservations?
Well, I managed to get Be Our Guest on Christmas Day, but I can't tell you I got it right away. But I also know how to be persistent as reservations go, and how to be on the website at the right times looking for those reservations. And I knew what I wanted. It wasn't like I wanted Be Our Guest any day. It was I wanted Be Our Guest Christmas Day. So, I think I did get Be Our Guest at about 60 days out. As that's, for those of you out there who don't know, a really good time. If you don't plan 6 months out and get the reservations you want right away, another good time to look is 60 days out, and another good time to look is 30 days out.
And that's because of all the cancellations at that point. You got a lot of people that are starting to make up their mind that, hey, I'm not going to be able to do this, and start canceling those rooms. Right. So, and when they cancel the rooms, the reservations, they end up erasing those as well.
Yeah, especially the 60-day out mark, because that's the one that I think people don't think about. The 30-day out makes sense because packages are going to get canceled automatically. Those last payments are due. People who were trying to find the finances for the trip bail on it and realize that they can't afford it. But the 60 days out is when FastPass is released. So can't tell you how many people actually book their fast passes and then end up having to move their dining around. I think I ended up getting Be Our Guest then. But outside of that, everything else that we were going for, the reservations I secured were Tepanito, which wasn't too difficult. We couldn't get it on Christmas Eve because we're in Epcot a little bit on Christmas Eve. And our tradition here at home is to go out for hibachi on Christmas Eve, so we wanted to make that the same tradition. But I did get Tepanito earlier in the vacation. Akershus I was able to get at a perfect time for us. I was able to secure a Topolino reservation to that brand new restaurant at Riviera.
Now, those had just released, because I know we had talked about it when you were planning the trip, and those had just released, and you jumped on there and got that reservation pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty much as soon as they released the Riviera Resort's opening date, I had already had this trip booked, and I grabbed a Topolino. Now, it was still pretty early in the morning, but I don't know. For us, it was 7:50 in the morning, but that morning we ended up gate crashing Hollywood Studios to get our boarding group. So it actually worked out pretty well. We got to the gates at Hollywood Studios at 6. At about 6:15, my daughter decided she wanted to go to the bathroom. So I had to scoop my 4-year-old at the time. I had to scoop my 4-year-old up and get through 100 people across, stacked, several hundred deep.
Yeah.
Just, excuse me, I'm just trying to get through, excuse me. Oh my gosh, that was a nightmare. Luckily, because then we had to leave security to go to the bathroom, come back through security, and then they had people stopping you from sneaking around the ticket booths. They wanted to funnel you through the ticket booth openings. Luckily, as I went up, I went to the lady and said, "I'm sorry, my family is all the way up there, up by the ticket, by the scanners. We were only 30 people deep behind one of the scanners because we got there so stinking early that I just want to get back to my family. Please don't make me walk back through there." She's like, "Trust me, I saw you walk through there the first time coming this way." So she allowed me to go back around, or to go around the way that they were blocking. And then that was far less congested because you had the big physical blockers of the buildings in the way. So it was pretty nice.
So what did you do new on this trip? Well, you already mentioned you did Tepanito. I know you haven't done that before.
Right. Yeah, lots of new things. So starting with the fact that we stayed at Pop Century. We had never stayed at Pop Century before. It was important on this trip to keep the cost not to a minimum, but down a little bit, seeing as it was our 6th trip to Disney over that year. Not as a family, but still, as a family, it was our 4th trip to Disney, and I had gone 2 other times with my wife and then my son. So it was important to keep the cost down a little bit. Going to Pop Century was really important in that. We also really wanted to be on the Skyliner. So, I could have gotten rooms at other places, but I really wanted to fully experience being on the Skyliner so that we could hopefully help our guests and our clients and our viewers, listeners, whatever they are on a podcast, kind of understand all the ins and outs of the Skyliner. Outside of that, three new reservations. I already talked about Tepanito, the hibachi in Japan. We went to Boma over at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and we went to Topolino, as I previously mentioned. Just really quick on those. Tepanito, I was taken aback because they brought me white rice and then they didn't make me stir-fry rice on the hibachi surface. But then they brought out this noodle mixture that just blew my mind. It was maybe the best hibachi thing I've ever eaten. I had a piece of salmon. Son got chicken. I had a couple bites of his. My wife got a steak and shrimp combo or something like that. But yeah, the food was fantastic. Definitely see your appeal, because I know Tepanito is one of your absolute favorites.
It is.
So I definitely see the appeal. I don't know if it'll be one of our go-tos, but I definitely agree with you that it's not your standard hibachi. So I get that. Boma was interesting, very interesting food, a lot of kind of African flavors, but it is a buffet, which is nice. So there's something for everybody, and there's a little kid station in there as well. And the desserts, we went for dinner. The desserts were fantastic, just absolutely fantastic. And so that's really nice, especially if you bring in some picky eaters or some people with kind of refined palates. It's always great to go to a buffet because you're going to be able to grab whatever you want off of it. And then Topolino, I cannot get over. Topolino is going to be one of our go-tos. The characters were so fun. You have you have sculptor Mickey. You have you have painter Mickey. You have writer Minnie. You have sculptor Donald and ballerina Daisy, and their costumes are so elaborate and so wonderful. You're up at the very top floor, which I think is like the 10th floor of the Riviera Resort. You're overlooking Caribbean Beach, and from the patio, you can see both the Epcot Ball and the Tower of Terror off in the distance. It's just an amazing view. The food was fantastic. The experience was wonderful. It was all very well themed into like arts. Donald made the meal because Donald had so much sass. My son was wearing a Mickey shirt, and Donald came over and like took a picture and covered it up. And then they sell plushes of those 4 characters exclusively at the Riviera. So we bought a Mickey and a Minnie, and we got them to autograph their feet. So kind of a unique souvenir came out of the breakfast as well. It was just a fantastic. Topolino is definitely one that I'm going to be recommending to whoever I work with, and definitely recommend it to you all listening as well.
So I know we talk a lot about touring plans and that kind of stuff, but really to keep this one short this time, I really want to focus on Christmas Day, because Christmas Day and New Year's Eve, for that matter, are kind of the 2 big days at Magic Kingdom.
And we took it on.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about your strategy. I've been, like I said, I've done a New Year's Eve at Magic Kingdom, and, the big thing is having a reservation or getting there early so you don't get blocked out. But tell me how you guys attack Christmas Day.
Yeah. So Christmas Day, we were also leaving that day. So we got up. Now, I think Christmas Day, the park opened at something like crazy, like 6 a.m. I was not trying to do that, but we did get up and out of our room by 7 and up to the front of the hotel and, check the bags with the baggage services, had them hang on to our carry-on. So that took a little bit of time. But I would say that we were approaching the park by like about 7:45 in the morning, getting off the bus and heading up to the park. My strategy for the day, I had a Be Our Guest breakfast at the very end of breakfast. So I think the reservation was 10:05 or 10:10. So breakfast ends at 10:30. So wanted to put that pretty late. And then all of my fast passes, I had booked my fast passes for noon to 3, like somewhere in that range. So what that allowed us to do is we were in the park before 8, and it allowed us to go. We went straight to the left. We rode Jungle Cruise. We rode Pirates of the Caribbean. And then we went straight across the park and rode Dumbo. We rode Dumbo and Ariel, and we did all of that within the first couple hours of being there, in addition to kind of taking in the sights and enjoying the fact that we're there on Christmas Day. Took a couple pictures, like we took that magic picture from the back of Main Street that takes a picture of the whole circle and then zooms in on just you. So we did all those things, and we did all that before our dining reservation. Headed over our dining reservation. After that, we had our fast passes, and we wanted to just kind of make the day about enjoying the entertainment and just pin trading and just kind of having some snacks, having our favorites. So we grabbed, after lunch, we did our first fast pass, and then we grabbed a Dole Whip and sat down in the tiki room. We actually just sat down in the tiki room line, and our Dole Whips were gone by the time the doors opened for the show, that we just walked right through and didn't even go to the show. We were just trying to get a nice cool place to sit and enjoy our Dole Whips, and then made it a lot about pin trading. So kids traded a lot of pins that day. We watched the parade, but instead of lining up at like 12:30 for the 2 o'clock parade, we waited all the way until 2 o'clock. And then as the parade comes from Liberty Square to Main Street, it goes across a bridge. Well, there's another bridge just kind of adjacent to that almost. And so we just stood on the middle of that bridge. And I put my daughter on the rail and held her, and my son was tall enough to see over the rail. And we just stood there and watched the parade come across from Liberty Square. It was honestly better than being crowded and swarmed by humanity around me with kids shoving past to get their view. It was very, very ideal. And the characters knew to look across to that bridge and interact with the crowd.
We've done that with Festival of Fantasy a couple times, and it's a great little place. So instead of going back towards the castle, it's that first bridge that comes across there. Is it the Adventureland Bridge?
No, it's one to the right of that.
One to the right of that,
Yeah. So there's kind of that one that sneaks back where Mary Poppins and Bert will meet and greet you. Yeah, so we were walking up to go do that. At like 1:30, we were sneaking through the back of these swarms, or like 1:50, we were sneaking through these back of these swarms of people. And Mary Poppins was just sitting there without a line. So we met Mary Poppins. Yeah. Had a great time talking to her because Addie was just smitten with Mary Poppins. And then after the parade, we were going over to a Splash Mountain Fast Pass, and we were pin trading with a supervisor, and he said, "How are you guys enjoying it today?" I go, "It's crowded, but we came with a strategy. We're pass holders. We know what we're doing. We're not newbies out here today trying to wait in 3-hour lines. Just pin trading, riding our Fast Passes. This is our last day here." And he, out of his wallet, he busts out a use on anything except for, including Seven Dwarfs. We could have even used it on Seven Dwarfs. But we had a Fast Pass for Space Mountain, and we rode Space Mountain, and they decked it out on Christmas Day the same way they do during Very Merry. So pitch black, strobe lights everywhere, and Mannheim Steamroller Christmas album playing full blast on the background. Fans dialed way up, so you're thinking you're going 50 miles an hour instead of the standard feeling. So we got off of that, and we were going to either use that Fast Pass that the guy gave us to ride Seven Dwarfs again or ride Splash Mountain again. Those were our other 2 Fast Passes that day. And my kids were like, "No, this is what we're riding again." So we ended up riding, we called it Jingle Mountain. So we ended up riding Jingle Mountain twice that day.
There you go.
It was just a fantastic day. Reservation and Be Our Guest. Rode plenty of rides, rode about 8 or 9 rides, traded a bunch of pins, saw the entertainment, met some characters. Definitely don't try, in my opinion, if you go on New Year's Eve or Christmas Day, just don't try to beat the crowds. Go around the crowds.
Yeah, definitely you want to stay out of Main Street and try and stay away from the Spoke as much as possible, because those are the 2 areas that are just going to congest. And when you've got that many people there, it's almost unbearable to try and walk through. If you kind of stay around that outside track, go through Adventureland, work your way around Liberty Square, get back to the back of the park that way, you miss a bunch of that crowd.
Yeah, avoid the Hollywood or the Haunted Mansion up to the Carousel chokehold. That's a scary pathway on a busy day. But now that they widened out that path just to the left of the castle, that's a pretty enjoyable way to kind of sneak your way up towards the back part of Fantasyland and Casey Jr. Circus.
So really, to kind of close up, anything special happen? Anything other than the kind of use on any Fast Pass that you got? What was the one thing that kind of that bring you back moment we always talk about?
Yeah, so that Fast Pass definitely a bring you back moment. Just the experience and the joy of my kids, as always, brings me back over and over again. People will say, "Why do you go so much?" And I just love the place. It's so enjoyable. It's enjoyable for adults. It's enjoyable for kids. Families, you get exhausted. You still kind of bicker back and forth a little bit, but at the same time, when you leave Disney, you don't remember any of the little bickers. You remember all the amazing things. During the Christmas time parade, the elf who was driving the Toy Story float, he was like up on a front ladder. He glances over, and I don't even think he's really looking at us, but he glances over and he goes like this. Right? So he sticks his tongue out, puts up big moose ears for those of you listening. And I go, "Bryce, did you see what he just did to you?" Not even thinking at all that that's who he was looking at. And I said, you better show him. So my son sticks his tongue out and goes moose ears back at him. And the guy gives him a disgusted look, crosses his arms, and then throws it right back at him again. So that moment, because you're talking, it's 100 feet away.
Yeah.
And just that moment, the fact that the characters are so in tune with the fact that they're trying to interact with the whole of the crowd. I can't tell you how many princesses waved at my daughter. And we're on a bridge 100 feet away. We're not on the parade route. They could easily take that bridge as like a regroup because they're about to go into the spoke.
Yeah.
And they just came down the crazy lined street.
Yep.
And now they're about to go into the spoke and down Main Street, which is even crazier than that area they just came out of. That bridge could easily be there. Okay, all right, got to get back. Okay, we're back again.
Yeah.
No, they just kept interacting right through it. It was so crazy. Yeah. Just I love all the intricate things that you start to realize when you go to Disney enough. And it does. It just keeps you coming back because you're like, what's going to happen next time?
So you got anything to close up?
No. Thank you all for listening. And I hope some of the insights from my trip kind of helped you out as you plan your trip. And as always, if all of this is way too daunting, we get there, we've been there, we've done that. That's why we've learned so much about Disney, and our experience can be your reward. So feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help with Princesses and the Mouse Travel or DPI podcast. Always happy to help you plan your magical vacation and fit a little bit of what we talk about into yours and do all of that grunt work for you.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and have a wonderful day.
Contact us at any of these options or learn more by clicking the website link below.